The billionaire pointed at me and laughed. You? A worthless waitress trying to communicate with my son? His friends joined in, mocking me, but when I finally spoke up, the entire restaurant went silent. What happened next didn't just humiliate him, it destroyed his reputation forever. This is my story. You won't believe how this ends. Every second matters, so don't skip ahead. If you love stories where arrogance gets destroyed, hit that like button right now and subscribe. This gets intense. Let's go. My name is Mary, and I'm 26 years old. I live alone in a tiny studio apartment on the east side of the city, the kind of place where the walls are so thin you can hear your neighbors breathing. I have no family, no husband, no kids. It's just me, surviving day by day, paycheck to paycheck. Most nights I come home exhausted, heat up some instant noodles, and collapse on my bed, wondering if life will ever get easier. I work at the Golden Palm, an upscale restaurant where rich people come to be seen. You know the type. Expensive chandeliers, white tablecloths, wine that costs more than my monthly rent. I've been working there for almost 2 years now, and honestly, it's been the hardest 2 years of my life. The customers treat us like we're invisible, and my co-workers aren't much better. They gossip about me behind my back, calling me awkward and saying things like, "No wonder she's alone." My manager takes advantage of me too, always giving me the worst shifts and the most difficult tables because he knows I won't complain. I can't afford to complain. I need this job. 3 days before that night, I received an eviction notice slipped under my door. $1,800 due immediately, or I'd be out on the street. I checked my bank account that morning. $340. That's it. That's all I had in the world. I sat on my kitchen floor and cried for 20 minutes before pulling myself together. I had to go to work. I had to smile and serve people who wouldn't even look me in the eye. I had no choice. Friday evening arrived like it always does, the restaurant's busiest night. The kitchen was chaos, orders flying in faster than we could keep up. I was already exhausted from working a double shift when my manager called all the waitstaff together. His face was serious, almost nervous. "Christopher Hartwell is dining with us tonight," he announced. The room went dead silent. Everyone knew that name. Christopher Hartwell, 45 years old, tech billionaire worth over $6 billion. He owned half the city, including the building our restaurant was in. He was also notorious for being absolutely ruthless to service workers. Stories about him were legendary, making waiters cry, getting people fired for the smallest mistakes, leaving insulting tips just to humiliate people. My manager's eyes landed on me. "Mary, you're taking his table." My stomach dropped. The other waitresses looked relieved, even smirking. One of them whispered just loud enough for me to hear, "Good luck, he's going to eat you alive." My hand started trembling, but I nodded. What else could I do? I needed this job. I needed the money. I just had to get through one night. Just survive one more night. When Christopher Hartwell arrived, the entire atmosphere of the restaurant changed. A black Rolls-Royce pulled up outside, and 2 massive bodyguards stepped out first, scanning the area like we were in a war zone. Then he emerged, tall, imposing, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than I'd earn in 5 years. His hair was slicked back perfectly, and his eyes were cold, the kind of cold that comes from never being told no. He walked into the restaurant like he owned it, which technically he did. People recognized him immediately, whispers spreading through the room like wildfire. He wasn't alone. 3 friends accompanied him, all wealthy, all loud, all laughing obnoxiously at jokes that probably weren't even funny. Christopher snapped his fingers at our hostess without even looking at her. "My usual table. Now." They sat down at the best table in the house, immediately ordering the most expensive wine on our menu. I took a deep breath, grabbed my notepad, and approached them. "Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to—" Christopher cut me off before I could finish. "Champagne, the 2008 Dom Perignon. You know what that is, or do I need to spell it? His friends burst out laughing. I felt my face flush with embarrassment, but I swallowed it down. Yes, sir. And for everyone else? They rattled off their orders, expensive steaks, rare preparations, demanding modifications, barely even glancing at me. I wrote everything down, staying professional, staying invisible. About 10 minutes later, a young man walked into the restaurant alone. He looked completely different from the billionaire and his friends. He was wearing casual clothes, a red hoodie and jeans, and he moved hesitantly, like he didn't want to be there. This was Ethan Hartwell, Christopher's 23-year-old son. I noticed immediately that he was wearing hearing aids in both ears. He spotted his father's table and took a deep breath before walking over slowly. What happened next made my heart sink. Ethan stood beside the table for a full minute, while his father continued laughing and talking with his friends. Christopher didn't acknowledge him, didn't even look up. Finally, Ethan gently touched his father's shoulder. Christopher jerked around, clearly annoyed. "You're late. Sit down and don't embarrass me." That was it. No hello, no hug, nothing. Ethan sat down at the far end of the table, completely isolated from the group, staring down at his hands. I walked back to the table with their champagne and began taking the rest of their orders. When I got to Ethan, I smiled warmly. "And for you, sir?" He didn't respond. He was looking at his phone, completely unaware I was speaking to him. I tried again, a bit louder. "Excuse me, what would you like to order?" Still nothing. I stepped closer and tried one more time. That's when Christopher noticed. He started laughing, loud and cruel. "Don't waste your breath, sweetheart." "He can't hear you?" His friends immediately joined in, laughing like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. "He's deaf. Hello? Anyone home?" Christopher actually waved his hand mockingly in front of his face. The laughter grew louder. I looked at Ethan's face and saw it turn bright red with shame. My heart broke for him. I moved around so I was standing directly in front of Ethan, where he could see my face clearly. I spoke slowly and distinctly, making sure he could read my lips. "Hi, I'm Mary. What would you like to eat?" Ethan looked surprised, like he wasn't used to people treating him with basic respect. He pointed to the menu and said, "Grilled salmon, please." His voice was slightly different, the way some deaf people speak, but perfectly understandable. I smiled. "Great choice. Anything to drink?" Before Ethan could answer, Christopher interrupted. "He'll have water." "And make it quick, we don't have all night." I nodded and turned to leave, but Ethan tried to get my attention. He waved his hand slightly and began making signs with his hands, asking me something in sign language. I didn't understand. I don't know sign language, but I could tell he was trying to communicate. I shook my head apologetically and gave him a kind smile, trying to show him I wished I could understand. That's when Christopher slammed his glass down on the table. The sound echoed through the restaurant. "Oh, this is rich. Look at this." His friend stopped talking and looked over, grinning. Christopher stood up, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "Are you seriously trying to talk to my deaf son with your hands?" I felt my face burning. "Sir, I was just trying to help." He cut me off. "Help? You, a minimum wage waitress?" His friend started laughing again, louder this time. Christopher continued, and every word felt like a punch. "What makes you think you can communicate with him? Do you have a degree in special education? Are you a speech therapist?" I tried to respond. "No, sir, but—" He didn't let me finish. "Exactly. You're nobody." He turned to his friends, performing for them now. "Can you believe this?" "She thinks she's qualified." One of his friends chimed in. "Maybe she learned from TV." Another one added, "Or maybe she thinks she's a miracle worker." They were all laughing so hard, and I could feel dozens of eyes on me from other tables. Christopher stepped closer to me, using his height to intimidate me. His voice was dripping with contempt. "Let me make this very clear, sweetheart. You are a waitress. You bring food, That's it. You don't talk to my son. You don't look at my son. And you certainly don't try to communicate with him like you're something special. Then he said the words that changed everything. So shut your mouth, do your job, and talk to my deaf son like a normal person. Use your voice. Stop encouraging his disability. The entire restaurant went silent. Every conversation stopped. 60 people were watching us now. I looked at Ethan and saw tears forming in his eyes, his face red with humiliation. My hands were shaking. Christopher was smirking, thinking he'd won, thinking he'd put me in my place. His friends were grinning, waiting to see me cry and run away. I could see my manager in the corner, his face pale, shaking his head at me like he was begging me not to say anything. But I looked at Ethan again. This young man, barely more than a kid, being treated like garbage by his own father, being mocked, being told he was broken, that he needed to be fixed. And something inside me snapped. No. My voice came out quieter than I expected, but in that silent restaurant, everyone heard it. Christopher's eyebrows shot up. What did you just say? I took a breath and said it louder. I said no. He laughed, but it sounded forced now. Excuse me. Do you know who you're talking to? I met his eyes directly. Yes, a bully. Gasps rippled through the nearby tables. Christopher's smile disappeared. Watch your mouth. I cut him off, and my voice grew stronger with every word. No, you watch your mouth. That young man is your son, not your employee, not your property, your son, and you just humiliated him in front of a room full of strangers. Christopher tried to speak, but I didn't let him. How dare you lecture me about my son? I raised my voice over his. Someone needs to. Because clearly nobody else will. The words were pouring out of me now, everything I'd been holding back for years. You mock him for being deaf like it's a joke. You parade him here and then ignore him, isolate him, shame him. And when someone tries to show him basic kindness, you attack them, you mock them. Christopher's face was turning red now. You have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't back down. Don't I? I can see exactly what's happening here. You're embarrassed. Not of him. By him. You're embarrassed that your son doesn't fit your perfect billionaire image. I turned away from Christopher and looked directly at Ethan. I spoke clearly so he could read my lips. You don't need to be fixed. There is nothing wrong with you. Being deaf isn't a weakness. It's just a different way of experiencing life. Ethan was staring at me now, tears streaming down his face, but something had changed in his eyes. He looked like someone had just told him he mattered. I turned back to Christopher. The only person at this table who should be ashamed is you. Suddenly, someone started clapping. An older man at a nearby table stood up. She's absolutely right. More people joined in. A woman stood up, pointing at Christopher. How dare you treat your son like that? Another voice called out, and treat her like that. She was just being kind. The applause grew louder and louder. Christopher looked around in shock. His friends had stopped laughing, looking uncomfortable. The entire restaurant was against him. Christopher exploded. Shut up, all of you! Do you know how much money I spend on his treatments? Do you know how many specialists, therapists, doctors I've hired? I spoke over the noise. To fix him, or to fix your ego. He pointed at me, his finger shaking with rage. I'm trying to give him a normal life. I shook my head. No, you're trying to erase who he is. Christopher's voice became threatening. You're fired. You'll never work in this city again. I own half the restaurants here. I'll make sure. That's when a new voice cut through everything. Stop, just stop, Dad. Everyone turned. Ethan was standing up. His voice was shaking but clear. Christopher turned to his son. Sit down, Ethan. But Ethan didn't sit. No, I'm done sitting down. I'm done being quiet while you treat me like I'm broken. I'm done pretending you actually care about me. Christopher's face went pale. Don't be ridiculous. Ethan's voice grew stronger. I'm deaf, Dad, not stupid, not broken, deaf. And you know what? I'm proud of it. I'm part of an amazing community. The only thing I'm ashamed of is you. He looked at me, and there were tears in his eyes, but also something like gratitude. Thank you for being braver than I was. Then Ethan walked out of the restaurant. The entire room erupted in applause, people standing, cheering. I found out later that someone had filmed the entire thing. A young woman who was herself deaf had recorded everything on her phone and posted it online with the caption, "Waitress destroys billionaire for mocking his deaf son." Within 30 minutes, it had 50,000 views. Within 2 hours, over 1 million. By the next morning, it had 15 million views and was trending #1 worldwide. News outlets picked it up. Billionaire's shocking treatment of deaf son exposed. The comments were overwhelming. This broke my heart and then put it back together. That young man deserves so much better. Everyone needs a Mary in their life. The video spread through the deaf community like wildfire, shared and reshared thousands of times. Christopher Hartwell woke up the next morning to complete disaster. His phone had 200 missed calls. His PR team told him it was catastrophic. His board of directors demanded he resign. The company's stock dropped 22% in 2 hours. Major clients cancelled contracts. Investors pulled out millions. His social media accounts were flooded with 500,000 angry comments. There were protests outside his company headquarters. The deaf community organized boycotts of all his businesses. His reputation, built over decades, was destroyed in one night. Meanwhile, I woke up to thousands of messages. Job offers from over 30 restaurants, each offering better pay and conditions than I'd ever had. The deaf community had started a fundraiser for me. She stood up for us when it cost her everything, and raised $250,000. News channels wanted interviews. Talk shows sent invitations. But the message that meant the most came from Ethan. "Can we meet? I want to thank you properly." We met at a small coffee shop a week later. Ethan looked different, lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. "I moved out," he told me. "I'm living on my own now." I cut contact with my father. I'm done with his toxicity. He smiled, a real genuine smile. "I'm joining deaf community programs. I'm taking ASL classes. I'm finally accepting myself." I felt tears in my eyes. "I'm so proud of you." He reached across the table and took my hand. "None of this would have happened without you. You gave me permission to be proud of who I am." 2 months have passed since that night. I'm working at a beautiful new restaurant where I'm treated with respect. I'm making 3 times what I made before. I'm taking sign language classes. Ethan is actually teaching me, and we've become close friends. I see him thriving now, surrounded by people who accept him, who celebrate him. He's happy in a way I don't think he's ever been before. As for Christopher Hartwell, I saw a news article last week. He stepped down as CEO of his company. His business empire is crumbling. He lost everything that mattered: his reputation, his company, and most importantly, his son. Standing up that night cost me my job, but staying silent would have cost me my soul. Money, power, status, none of it matters if you lose your humanity. And sometimes, the smallest voice can bring down the biggest giant. Sometimes, all it takes is one person refusing to stay quiet, one person choosing kindness over fear, one person saying enough is enough. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe for more powerful true stories. Share this with someone who needs to see it. Drop a comment. Have you ever stood up to someone powerful? What happened? I'll see you in the next one.